screen thingy. And then, like they're in a store shopping, and this guy with blue hair walks past, and he's like, everybody sees it. Everybody sees it. We don't need to say anything. And the two guys are like, blue. His hair's blue.
I have seen that commercial. I can't remember what insurance company it's for either.
Was it insurance?
It was.
Okay.
Hey, Mike.
Like,
That's funny. I guess I'll have to watch more commercials.
Well, we don't even watch regular TV, so we have Hulu, and so we get,
Oh, so I haven't watched anything on Hulu for a while.
yeah.
But I noticed it's the one about the tattooed girl.
oh, done. They do. Good.
Hey, good weekend?
Yeah, just busy.
How about the weekend before that?
Hard pressed to remember that.
I can remember last week, and the week before that, before we go. I've been just working on my daughter's getting married at the end of the night, so.
Getting what?
Oh, it's all blurred
Oh,
then.
nice.
So she get married, and my wife's in Redding, California until about almost to the wedding, like a day or two before, so. So I'm helping do the final, things and.
Yeah, there's a lot to getting married.
Sorry, are you having to keep the numbers down, or you just?
Well, it was a small wedding to begin with, so she was only gonna have about 30 people or something.
Okay.
So, but finding a place, finding a caterer, something.
Especially with COVID.
That's why, yeah.
Very difficult with the COVID stuff, so.
Open the mountain.
No, some people, they just won't touch it. Even when before the governor's announcement, they didn't want to hardly touch anything harder than 10 or different things, so. So we finally settled on a place and got a caterer, anyway, this got everything arranged, but just got logistics and had to build an arch and different things for it,
Fun,
so.
fun.
Yeah.
My surgery has been postponed twice since the last time we met. I'm pissed.
So how long until
So what?
the surgery? Have
I have no idea.
they still haven't? Wow.
So my consult was supposed to be July 10th, so I could have surgery at the end of July. They got rid of the actual surgery idea and are just focusing on trying to get the consult done. They rescheduled it to the 25th, now August 7th. And that's not looking good because the doctor might be out of state at that time as well. So,
Wow. Not fun.
and now if I put pressure right around in this area, it just shoots right up my arm into my neck. So I gotta be careful where I'm placing my arm on the chair, or I'm leaning forward on a left knee or something. It's very stupid.
Yeah, you're getting old.
I know. And I started cutting back on my pain pills because I started to find myself taking more and more.
Did I seriously do that? How did I do that? Oh my word.
It's because you were looking probably at the protocols, which have all that in there.
Oh, shame. You're like a year behind the times.
I'm slipping.
Something I noticed as I was walking up here, isn't this supposed to be kind of like the ADA entrance
Mhm.
up here? So I noticed there's no ADA parking.
So she was gonna paint the stripes up here, but there were still vehicles parked
Oh, okay.
when she was painting the
They needed the
stripes. over
sign
there.
too.
Yeah, so she's gonna
Okay,
set us all up there.
okay, good.
And Christine parks in that spot because she's got him. That spot there.
I don't know which one it is, so I can see things for like the door, and then I noticed we've got the bumper,
It's right
the
in
tire
front of
bumper
it.
is right there, that needs to be probably taken out too.
Yeah, so we were talking to the folks that were doing the painting about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it has to basically be knocked loose. It's
Yeah, yeah.
formed with.
Oh, it's formed it now, okay.
Yeah. All right, well, you really are the unplowed public transit district.
We're short of you.
Oh, Sarah's not gonna be here. She emailed earlier, said she would not be able to make it, not be able to call
Change your name.
Oh,
in. How are you?
Well, Ken always sits over there from that side.
He wants to look
Well,
around.
did he look?
I just threw them out.
Saw John, yeah. I couldn't see Kat, so, yeah.
So we'll turn to the rest.
Oh, I added five, what?
5.5.
Yeah.
Property update.
5.5
Just update on the property,
on what?
the next door property.
Property
Okay.
update.
Nothing that's sensitive in terms of price or
no.
anything like that. Okay.
All
No,
public
it's-
record.
It's a good update.
Only have to go up above the 90,000 by 120, so.
I hear the, about ready to kick off or succeed on the master plan or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Kittleson and Associates, they were actually the only ones that responded.
Mm.
But I've worked with them on numerous other
Mhm.
ones, you know? So they already
Most of the
have,
team's pretty good, yeah.
yeah, and they have a familiarity
Mhm.
with our area.
Yeah, they're doing the 5 interchanges,
Yeah,
Interstate 5.
The one for Sunland,
Yeah,
or the one here in Rosebud.
I think DEA did the Rosebud Transportation Plan, and I think they did the Selwyn Transportation Plan, right?
I think Kittleson did Southern.
Kills, could they did?
Yeah.
You sure?
No, I'm not 100% sure, but I could find out.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, Kelsey's good.
Are they out of Portland?
Kittleson and DEA are gonna be the top 2, yeah. Yeah, almost everybody's out of Portland, there's only like one company, there's one company out of Eugene. But I don't know that they'll ever do business down here again, and, we've like fired her from everything. I think we took them up like 10 projects. Like, oh, tell me they had to do that, and then I think there's a firm down in Medford sometimes who does some huge ones, so. Did you ever hear if the tribe ever reorganized or did anything so? Or
I haven't
still
heard,
disorganized?
I haven't heard it. I know that they have one person who's kind of, I guess, acting as a point person, Michelle. But, I mean, we're supposed to have our South County meeting, stack meeting. Well, I think we're going into our 3rd one that we've missed, you know, so, and I mean, there hasn't been any communication, so.
No, so I had actually contacted her the day that the one was, the first one that we missed.
Mhm.
Well, I think it was the day before. And I just asked her, with Sarah being gone and you being the new point person, are we still scheduled for this meeting tomorrow? And she's like, what meeting?
That was back in February.
Yeah,
I mean, we were supposed to have one in like May, I think,
yeah.
and there was nothing.
And they decided to redo instead of just doing the contract that UCAN had with the tribe, they're gonna redo it with the district, but they're not gonna give us as much money.
How much
So
they got in the back, quite a bit.
they're taking all of the SPF back except for what they used to, they would give us for a match for the 53 gen that we get.
Okay.
So a significant chunk, probably $50,000.
Why haven't we
But
got,
still no contract.
why haven't we got enough picture on the wall yet?
It's in my report. Or did you mean the picture that I forwarded to you?
Yeah.
Of your friend? No, I didn't realize I was supposed to do that. But I did. That's just,
Okay, well, we have corn, so. Go ahead and get started.
looks like Pat pulled it.
Oh, did you? Well, then let's wait a minute. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I saw,
Look at Toby coming
yeah, Matt.
in. And that,
You wearing jeans?
I am. Sometimes I do.
With anybody online?
Hi, Matt.
How do you use one?
Good, how are you?
Oh,
We'll trade.
new chairs.
Okay, it's 5:34. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order and start with the pledge of allegiance. And pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's get roll call.
John Perkins.
Yeah, right.
Lonnie Greenville.
Mike Baker.
Cat, Stone.
So Sarah Thompson is not here, won't be coming today, and Mark is not coming.
Is there anyone on Zoom?
No, I just checked. Okay, on to the consent agenda for the minutes of June 8th and June 22nd, and the June financial report.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved by Lonnie, is there a second?
Yeah.
Did you second, John? John, okay. Seconded by John, any discussion?
Just a point of, on this, as part of the consent agenda, do we want to also approve the actual agenda? Approval, because like we're adding one, you can notate that at the time of the consent agenda.
Are we adding, I thought we were adding only something.
He added 5.5,
Added 5.5,
property update.
so just for future meetings, having it as a part of
We
it.
can, yeah,
Just
we can, yeah. I don't think we have to, but
Because that way,
Yeah.
if something is
Yeah.
added, it's notated at that time in the consent
And
agenda.
still second as an agenda.
okay. So we're also adding
As amended.
section 5.5, which is adjacent property. Okay, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
I mean,
motion
Grab
carries.
your chair, this is another board member.
I can move it over.
Oh, that's right, Sarah's not gonna be here.
Ah,
I just want to pull the chair back. Okay, on to old business. First item is board election 5.1. So we have a chair, vice chair, and a secretary. So I'll open the board election nominations for chair. And I'm gonna go ahead.
Nominate Lonnie as chair.
Gonna do that, thank you. Any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate John.
Okay, John?
John, is that something you're interested in?
I thought he was interested from the first night we got together after the election. I'm pretty sure you mentioned it and you've waited patiently since then.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay, let's go ahead and vote, and let's do Lonnie first, and then we'll do John. So those in favor of Lonnie
I have
as,
questions. Can we ask questions?
sure.
Well, I guess, I appreciate the nomination, but I've been here for 3 meetings. I would love to do it, but John kind of has been here, how long have you been on?
Since the beginning.
Yeah, since the beginning, since the night of the.
I'm not worried about it, I mean, we can go to
I'm just
bare
thinking,
knuckle.
Let's do that.
fair enough.
Oh, let's sell tickets.
I just think
Well,
you've got a lot of governmental experience and knowing how kind of things work.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. So those in favor of Lonnie, raise your hand. You made the nomination, right?
I didn't think John would want to do it, but now that I know that he would want to do it, my vote goes to him. I'm sorry. I really didn't think he'd want to do it.
Do we have a quorum? Can we vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, those in favor, and so that was 2, Lonnie and myself, right? And 2, 3, so those in favor of John as chair, raise your hand. And since it's I'm gonna go ahead and this is what you just.
All right.
I nominate Lonnie as vice chair.
Okay, any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, those in favor for Lonnie as vice chair of the board, raise your hands. Okay, unanimous. And
Who
welcome.
wants secretary?
And
I
secretary,
nominate Kat.
okay, for Kat, any other nominations for secretary? Okay, those in favor of Kat, say aye. Okay, also unanimous. Okay, John, do you want to take it from here, or do you want me to finish this meeting? Your choice.
I don't care. Where are we?
So we are on 5.2.
So 5.2, visiting the board protocols.
Right, so the board protocols, we had, passed those out when we did the bylaws. But the protocols actually have their own, statement which says that they are going to be, Christine, do you know what page that was? That we are going
I
to,
was just talking about.
page 4.
Conduct of district staff, we're in trouble already.
Can you come direct?
So it's district staff, is that what?
No,
Yeah,
it's the,
The board conduct?
Other procedural issues, number 3 and number
Oh, so
where did you say?
one more page. One full page.
So on page 5, 1, 2, 3, page 4. Page 4, board conduct with district staff.
No, it's here, other procedural issues.
other procedural issues.
Turn one more page.
Number 3 and
Right.
4.
Page 6.
Oh, number 3.
All right, so
Mhm.
it says,
We have to do an annual review.
yes.
And
And
is
that
there-
has to be done in a special meeting, but I, commit to annual review of board protocols. At the beginning of each fiscal year, the board will hold a special meeting to review the board protocols as well as its adopted procedures for meetings. So based on this, then we would have to schedule a special meeting.
We just do it in August.
So I've seen it to where that it's a regular meeting time, it's just classified as a special portion of the meeting,
Right.
special meeting, so.
That's
Yeah, that
awesome.
sounds good.
Yeah, we
That's
don't
what we
have
did
stuff.
last year, isn't it?
Okay. So then do we want to schedule this for our next regularly scheduled meeting?
That'd be August 10th.
Great idea.
Okay. And that takes care of that.
So on to the logo, 5.3. Mike?
So we talked about updating a logo, so this is a logo that was developed back in October. I just waited to submit it because we had other pressing issues to deal with in terms of developing the agency. So, excuse me, the one on the left is our existing, the one on the right is the proposed, and then I just decided, I thought, let me go in and show all of the different logos for the different transit agencies across the state. So except for, I guess, the Lincoln County one, I didn't need to add that one. So I was trying not to add the city or county. Well, it's the Lincoln County logo.
Oh,
Right.
gotcha.
So if it was the city of Roseburg running there, it would be, and so there's a lot of cities, Wilsonville, not Wilsonville, but there's some cities that own their own transit, that own the transit system, they run the transit system, and they use their own city or county logo in doing so. So, but outside of that, I think the only one, of course, is the South Clackamas Transportation District in the middle, but anyway, this is what they look like. Kayak is one that's done by the tribes out east. I think there's 3 tribes involved in that one, up from Pendleton and that area. So you just kind of get, I mean, generally they're fairly simple and just kind of a nice little logo attached to things, so.
The one thing I noticed is that it has nothing to do with Umpqua Public. Like all the other logos have something to do with their area.
So those appear to be hills in the background. I wanted to make it a rainbow. Those green things at the top, that's hills.
Oh,
So I didn't care for that too much. But they're really brown.
I actually like the logo if we were to take out the bus, because I think Umpqua Public Transit has a lot more than just that style. I mean, so if we took that out of there, just had the button, the mountain on top of the UPTD,
That'd be simple. That'd be
Yeah.
just-
And then a rainbow over the mountain.
and then a rainbow in the.
Okay.
With a river.
I'm just saying, to me, it just doesn't have anything. All these other ones, like the cat has the paw print, the kayak has the kayak. There's just nothing Umpqua about it.
I'm just trying to see what it looks like with that. So, I'm not smart enough to get it.
You got it.
Oh, man.
Origami isn't your strong suit.
No, I'm not an origami person.
With a rainbow. Because it's got to be little small. And they can do it because the Cascade East Transit has color.
It does create, I mean, if you have to go to print, it does add a lot of cost when you're doing color prints.
And that's
So-
what I was thinking was 2 colors versus 1 color versus.
That could easily all be one color. too,
Yeah.
so,
If you do a black and white logo, it comes out, and if you have it green and blue, it'll still come out looking good as a single color.
You'll see most of them are 2 colors, except the cat and MPD. Although Lane Transit has colored ones as well. I think Portland Metro, I couldn't never grab they got all their logos locked down on their website, so.
Yeah.
But everybody knows what that one looks like, kind of that rose looking circle or the different circles that interconnect.
Is this a priority to get this approved today?
Yep.
Can we have an example of it without the bus in it and bring it back this meeting?
How about-
Hopefully,
Can't we all bring back, why don't we have others? If anyone else has any ideas? Or is this just the one idea?
well, I would just suggest that if we don't want to do something there, that we just hire a graphic artist so that it doesn't look cheesy, and it'd be nice to have a nice looking logo.
I like this logo, just,
I'm pretty sure that they have like apps and stuff that make logos too.
They do, and I tried to use them for the first one we had. Unless you pay for the program, it's really basic.
Then you have to pay for the art, then you have to buy the license. and
Right.
all that stuff, yeah.
So do we want to just say, submit logos that you have that you're interested in, and we'll present them at the next meeting?
I would, like I said, I would rather us that are non-graphic artists and stuff can do it. I would rather us, if we're not gonna do something like this, just take out the bus or something, we just hire a graphic artist locally and have them develop a logo for the district.
it's not as easy as what you would think.
Yeah, anyway, I was thinking, like, when John had proposed at the beginning that we have kids that were, especially now, kids are at home, high school, like, to do some kind of artwork themselves. And then we don't have to buy a license, because it's a child that would be doing it. That's how we did it the first time.
I mean, we can give them a sample and tell them to take out the bus. They should be able to do that.
I think this logo's done, I mean, it's basically,
We can take that bus that you could easily come out and move up, so we can do that. I can bring that back, but it's suggested that we don't want to do that, that we hire a graphic artist to do that.
Well, let's see what it looks like without the bus,
Okay.
without jumping to the next conclusion.
Do graphic artists, will they put out proposed ideas?
typically they'll give you a bid to do that.
Yeah.
So should we just table it until next month and
Mhm.
see what?
I'll bring that, I'll see if I can get that.
So are we allowed to ask for people to write something up, or are we just going with?
I think we're
With the
still
bus.
free citizens.
You can do whatever you want to.
We are free citizens.
Well, I know that, but I don't want to put it out there if it's not an option for,
I like the idea with the bus, with the mountain background, because it's certainly mountainous around here. But that one doesn't look like a mountain, it looks like a green and white striped awning
Yes,
over the bus, and I had trouble figuring that out. till you get to those mountains.
but
Thank you for your input. So on to, that was 5.3, 5.4, community, or communications with Dalrite.
No, I am not finding it. I know we printed it.
Okay, can we back up just a second?
Yeah.
On the logo piece, kind of related, but also not, but, because of the Dallas piece. So when you look at a lot of the Dallas buses, and I think I said something to you about it one time, but, you know, I mean, just we changed our name to the Umpqua Public Transportation District. We run Umpqua Transit, and we have contracted with Douglas Rides. So it still kind of has that Douglas piece to it. And it'd be nice, I was thinking, if we almost changed the name and the design looks pretty dated it just makes the buses look dated, the vans. So I was wondering if we had looked at some kind of a name for that, like Umpqua Connections or something that had that Umpqua in it, you know, if you shortened it to Connections or something, but because that's really what Dallarite is. It's all about connecting people and places and things. But anyway, just look at updating because the reason I was thinking about that is we're about ready to buy all these, but we got all this grant for all these buses, right? And so if we're gonna go in and spend the money and putting a wrap on, maybe just to start to wrap some of the new ones in a new style, do something just a little bit different and up with what we're doing.
And it makes us more cohesive.
Yeah.
So we all remember
Exactly.
that they are part of us too.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's still called Dallarite, correct?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So
Because they're,
I was gonna say, that's nationally recognized.
Yeah, yeah. And just
change
changing the Douglas Rides to like Uncle Connections or something like that.
I like that.
it.
yeah,
Yeah, you
do we have to vote on it? Do we have to make a motion?
I think maybe we just add that to when we're talking about the logo, because I think that plays a little bit into the colors, the color scheme of the band too. So, okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So the communication piece with Dallarite, I have to apologize. I got started on this late, so this just came off the printer. And honestly, I was kind of struggling to figure out, I went back and listened to the recording of the last meeting and kind of struggling to figure out exactly what it is that we're looking for in this document. What I've provided here is the timeline for the quarterly report process and what it is that we currently do for that process. So the first thing we do is we request the documentation, and that email goes out within the first 15 days after the end of the quarter. And that's like clockwork. That's what we do. That's part of our process. So no later than January 15th, April 15th, July 15th, and October 15th. And then the deadline for the requested documents to be submitted back to the district is 1 month after the end of the quarter. So that is 2 weeks after the request. And that if we haven't received documents by January 31st, April 30th, July 31st, and October 31st, then we put out a second request. That's what we do. And this last year is not a typical year, and there were multiple times, multiple providers that I missed putting out that second request until I was actually working on their information. But at the time, I was also doing UCAN's report. So everything is just different now. So going forward, I don't anticipate missing that piece. The deadline for the district to submit the quarterly report, that's 45 days after the end of the quarter. So by February 15th, May 15th, August 15th, and November 15th. The provider reimbursements are typically processed as soon as the quarterly report information is complete. And then after reviewing the provider contracts, what I found is the contract says 45 days following the end of the quarter. So that's, I know where I was kind of out of whack, out of sync, because typically that request for that reimbursement comes after the end of the quarter, not before before that 45 days. That 45 days you have to process and submit the report. That's so for I see now why providers were wondering why their report was, or their payment wasn't processed in time, because it says within 45 days. So beyond that, beyond looking at the process as a whole, I'm not sure exactly what the board was asking for at the
I
last
think it was
meeting.
communication, so not a timeline wasn't the issue, it was actual communication from you to the providers, like, thank you, received your report, anything.
Mhm.
Just to let us know that, yes, you've received your report, you might not have looked through it, that's fine, but just so that we know you have it. Or when you're done with everything, say, hey, everything looks good, funding is on its way, whatever that looks like, but when it's just radio silence is the issue. It's the communication, it's the written or verbal communication between the manager and the provider.
But I think this helps too.
Yeah, this actually came through I think my request is that way we could have a common document, everybody knew what the critical
What
points
the
were.
timeline was, yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
I still would like, well, not me personally, but my board wants our contract amended with the district. Just that it says something that if we provide service, and we follow our end of the contract, that the district must follow their end of the contract and have funding to us within a certain timeline.
So your contract does say that, and that's the piece, like I said, that I missed.
That's the 45 days.
I'll have,
And I will ensure that that's adhered to. That was my mistake. And I will ensure that that's adhered to.
So just looking at the dates here, is there a reason why request for documentation email goes out by the 15th? Is there a reason why it couldn't go out sooner than that? Because if you're just asking for information, or is there actually data that you have to collect before sending that email out?
There's data to collect.
They have to collect data and compile it into a report, basically.
So it's more than just a request for information. There's data that you send out with that email in?
No, I make the request and then.
That's what I'm saying. Could you make is there a reason to wait till the 15th? Could you make it like the 2nd?
I can only speak from my experience as a provider receiving that email on the 1st, when there's no way humanly possible that I could have that information available on the 1st.
no, it's just that
I'm
you
just-
requested earlier to
because
give
it
them a
says-
longer
Right.
timeline, not that, hey, it's the first. we need to
Well,
do it.
Still do the same time as here.
Yeah, just request it earlier.
Yeah, instead of saying, I'm looking at number 1.
So I've talked with numerous providers
Mhm.
who actually thanked me for not sending the request on the 1st of the month following the end of the quarter, because they have to finish out their financials
Right.
and do a financial report. And they get reports from the dispatchers that have their revenue service miles, hours, and rides.
Mhm.
And
So I guess what I would say then is almost adding an initial request, which would be at the first of the month.
Or just something
first
that
of
says,
the
hey,
quarter.
First of the
don't
quarter,
forget
yeah, just
that
the quarter.
in 15 days, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically, it's the end of the quarter, your reports are going to be due within 30 days, or by the end of the month. Just that initial, boom, here it is, and then you do it, the second one on the 15th, and then your third one on 30th.
absolutely,
So you basically
I could add that in there.
just add in one more. Communication is important. I agree with that. And so if we can just get that initial trigger, end of the quarter, report's going to be due, and then again on the 15th. And then on the 30th.
And then
Like
the other
Cheryl
piece-
was saying though, you, as a provider, we can't give her the information until dispatch gives us the information. So yeah, but I think above that, above any kind of month 3, day 1, before that communication, just the communication of keeping us up to date with what's happening with the program as a whole. Yes, I received this, I didn't receive that, whatever that looks like, more than a hard deadline request,
So you're looking
Or
for
a reminder.
individual communication.
anything. Yeah, any kind of communication would be great.
Well, I like kind of having the deadlines because it sets an expectation for the district that the providers know that they can
We
expect
all
the
know,
district.
I mean,
And the
Yeah,
district can
okay.
expect of the providers.
You guys have been doing it
No,
for
I
a
get
long
it, but
time.
Cheryl knows the deadlines, we all know the deadlines, I think, pretty well, but I mean, to have it on there just as a rule of thumb, I think is a good idea.
But I think the piece that we need to have in here too is the acknowledgement of when you receive documentation, just to acknowledge that you received it.
And if there's updates within our program, that we get any kind of updates, just keeping us informed, that kind of thing.
I like that though. Appreciate having the deadlines.
Any more?
Yeah.
5.5, property update. So, recuse myself and pass you the gavel. Okay. Speaking as the board's realtor, Cheryl and I were able to negotiate an offer on the property next door, 3046 Dominic Boulevard. Initial offer was 82.5, and they countered that with not 85, which we accepted. So we got it at the low end of the spectrum that I told you we were going to try for. I was actually hoping for a quick close and was hoping that we could schedule that for this week, so it'd be a bigger announcement. But the title company found a few things on the seller's end. That's not a big issue for concern. There's just some tax issues that they've got to clear up. I don't know if they have, with these certain types of tax issues, I don't know if they have to be cleared up prior to the sale going through, or like other tax issues, if they'll be remedied with the proceeds of the sale, but it's a different type of tax issue.
What kind of issues?
Tax warrant?
They can pay it in the closing.
Can they do that? Okay.
Just a matter of owing the county money.
Yeah. That's a low amount.
Can we pay that really slow?
No,
It's not us.
the seller has to pay it.
Well, it's
Technically,
really-
it is us because we're giving them the money to pay with.
Seller owes it, the title company can pay up in the closing,
Damn.
whatever else they have to do.
So, we will likely be owners of real property. Sorry, I removed myself. The board will be, owners of real property, potentially, this week, but likely by the end of next week. Okay. So
Good news.
that is all I had for that.
Okay, I'll pass things back over to you.
How official. Let's go on to number 6, general manager's report.
So the report this time around is long, but there was a lot that happened this month. So I'm going to kind of paraphrase. It's of course there for you guys to ask any questions that you need to. I met with Nan Clinton and James Mast regarding the downtown office, and they are willing to do a remodel of that office to allow us a smaller space for less money. We resolved the issues with Optus in order to allow Christine access to process the quarterly reports. So that's huge too. I have been the one-man band for the entire year doing this process, and now Christine has access to be able to do that work with me. And so that, even just this time, was helpful. We worked with UCAN for the final resolution of the documents for the third quarter report. So we still didn't have those documents completed until the 11th of June. So I mean, it's been long and drawn out. So Christine and I worked together to combine the dial-a-ride numbers and the UCAN V-Trans numbers to complete that report in Optus. It was clear back in June when we ordered these nameplates and received them. It just seems like forever ago. I did review the ACL funding opportunity received by UVN, and I let them know they should submit a proposal to the district. The proposal would need to indicate what UVN wants to do with the funding and how UpToD falls into that proposal. I also reviewed a 5310 discussion that was forwarded to me, which was an email chain, and it verifies that meal delivery is an acceptable use of 53 funds. But the match rate for that is 50% instead of the 10.27% that is the purchase service. And it also requires that the provider track the meal delivery costs separately from the dial-a-ride rides. Coordinated a lot with Andrea from UCAN regarding all of the documentation, copies and stuff like that that we needed pertaining to the transfer. Worked with the UTrans supervisor when they were looking at having to shut the service down for 2 weeks. Reviewed the proposal from Kelly's Corner Burger King project. Their project is adjacent to the bus pullout that is already on 42. So they actually had to have not an approval so much as that we agreed that that would work.
There's a Burger King one at Kelly's Corner.
I was just gonna
It
say.
is,
Right across from the Chevron.
yeah.
Right next to
Oh,
my
that
house.
parking lot?
Yeah, the empty vacant lot there.
Oh,
It's
Keep
been
going from
empty for a
McDonald's,
long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Burger Kings and McDonald's always locate by each other because one does the market study and then the other one,
All the same.
that's why that happens.
All right, and UVDN, they have found a van they believe would be a good replacement for the one that was totaled. I haven't heard anything further since they were gonna go and look at it. But their insurance settlement for that van was $23,000. So if they do find one that's appropriate, that it would be appropriate for us to fund that for them because that insurance funding did come to us. I talked with Richard Hoffman, City of Roseburg, regarding the Cascade Community Credit Union expansion and putting a bus pullout in there, and I provided that information for them.
Is that in that empty lot where they took down the bus store?
So the, that's what I was trying to tell Tom today. So, yeah, I talked to the city of Roseburg, and they were looking for a drawing of what a bus pullout, or a standard, a drawing standard, basically, construction standard for a bus pullout.
So I forwarded them a PDF that is actually an ODOT PDF that has various different options.
I'm just saying we might want to adopt one as part of our master plan.
Yes, yes. Well, that was one of the questions they asked.
And put in our plan about requiring it in that way, because they had some questions about what was in the TSP in terms of policy versus developers coming in and not doing it.
So are we going to work with the credit union then to allow us to be able to use, I'm assuming that's going to go into their property or no?
The City of Roseburg, their TSP requires that in certain types of projects that they have to. I think it was Harvard, Stevens, Garden Valley, for new building projects that are adjacent to a bus stop like that.
That it has to have a cutout or something?
Yeah.
Like the one in front of the old
Right.
hospital.
I just was curious if Cascade is aware of that.
They were.
Okay.
They originally asked me if I would bring in the bus stop.
No problem.
Yeah, so, let's see. We did send out, so the conversation that we had regarding a driver line, that was something that I sent out an email to all of the dial-a-ride providers. I gave them a number for a driver line, updated the dispatch hours. I gave them additional information about using their tablets to message dispatch. And I also provided some information about the one-stop call center vision. And since we put that out on June 11th, there are maximum number of phone calls on that line have been 3 in one day. And there are anywhere from 0 to 3 phone calls per day. But there's a lot of days that it just doesn't even ring.
That's the dedicated one?
Yes.
Well, we don't have a lot of drivers on the road right now either. I
And
mean, I
we-
say this in talking with dispatchers, they've never received an emergency call from a driver, which is good.
Well, the dispatchers are not the ones that were experienced that we used to have.
Right.
True, well,
The
yeah, I
years-
mean,
the
there are
years,
things that
15
come
years.
up all the time.
So are
it's-
you speaking as a board member or as a dial-a-ride provider is what I would like to.
A provider. So, well, as a
Yeah,
driver,
yeah.
either or. So we were asking correct for a driver line, not necessarily, because of emergencies, yes, but for several other reasons than just an emergency.
Right, and we provided that and it's really not being utilized.
It shouldn't
You
be
just said it
except
was-
in an emergency. It shouldn't be except in an emergency. And this statement, in talking with dispatchers, they have never received an emergency call from a driver, does not take into account that we lost 15 to 20 years of dispatch experiences that we would be calling on.
Well, and we also don't have a lot of people out on the road right now, but it is very much needed.
I say we just continue it. I mean, it's only been a month or so.
Yeah, it's only
Just
a few
continue it
weeks.
for 6 months or so and then
And it isn't a
reevaluate.
great expense.
There's only one provider that's not providing service at this time. All of the rest of them are providing service.
But they're a lowered rate, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, at 50%.
We're all, I mean, everything's at a lower rate.
Yeah, at
So
least
reevaluate in
50%.
6 months.
Yeah.
Why do we even have to reevaluate? I mean, the having it there for ifs, I mean, that's why we have
Mhm.
911.
Yes.
I haven't used it in years.
There's various emergencies, 911, if the guy's gonna slug the bus driver.
It's definitely
Call
going to be
our
worth it, whatever it
emergency
is.
line if the wheel falls off.
Right.
What I'm
We've
saying
got
though,
different
is
emergencies.
Why even address it in 6 months?
why even address it
Yeah,
in 6 months?
just-
It's just something that
just
I think is
continue.
a necessary thing for holding on to regardless.
Okay.
I don't know why that would be better.
I don't either.
So, we did interview approximately 30 people, drivers, dispatchers, office assistants, and a sanitation tech. We hired 18 bus drivers and 2 operations assistants
Over last month.
last month, yeah,
So were most of those former UCAN employees or
about half.
half?
Yeah.
And so did a bunch of the other ones just decide that they didn't want to transfer over? I know there's some issues with some age and COVID and things, but
There were 3 of them that found other jobs while we were at reduced service.
mhm.
And then, but they were also ones that said they wanted to self-quarantine. So probably, just they were on their way to something else
Mhm.
anyway. And then 2 of them, it was due to the age. So we did get a lot of interest though on the Indeed.
The market job.
Yeah. We completed the parking area paving and the striping. They're also gonna stripe up here, but there were already vehicles parked there by the time she was able to get to that area. And of course, we presented for the budget committee and budget hearing, met with ODOT. So we had a meeting to learn how to review the proposals that were submitted. And then we went through that process, had another meeting and discussed that. We ordered office supplies and furniture through UCAN to be able to utilize funds that would have otherwise been lost. We hired a temporary facilities person to assemble desks. So they assembled all of the desks that we had that were still in boxes. They put chairs together, did all the weed eating, power washing, just did a whole lot of work for us. But he did such an exceptional job that he worked himself right out of the job. We had just got to the point where we had nothing left to give him, So we might be able to call him back for a day or 2 here or there.
Yeah, there's always things that need fixing.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was good. He fixed the garage door. It wasn't working with the garage door opener, just all kinds of stuff. So he did a
Maybe
good
we
job.
could just get him a little contract.
Yeah. Let's see.
Well, that's not, just going back off of what, I'm sorry, just listening to what Kat said there. I remember at ODOT, we had a facilities guy like that we had a contract with, that we can call him up. So he was basically like on call.
That's what I do as a nurse
Yeah.
for one of the,
And that was really
Places,
convenient to know that, you need something fixed or need something installed or, something done, some stuff, hung up that's high up or whatever like that. You got somebody that you can call
and if there's
quickly come
periodic
and do it.
maintenance that's required by law or something like that, he can keep track of that and just show up when it's ready, like I do.
I'm doing it. Yep. So he did a good job. Let's see. We worked with Cortec. They've been doing all of our IT stuff. So they had been navigating the release of the website, getting the network set up for the downtown office, all of that kind of stuff, setting the computers up after they were wiped. There were just a number of challenges that we ran into in this process, but I think we're on the downhill slope now. NextCon is wiring these front doors, the side door, and the door downstairs that the drivers will be using to enter, so that we'll have a card key, access, and that will let us know who's coming in at what time, that kind of stuff. I reviewed the COVID policy because the governor's new orders, but there were no changes required. It actually already covered that. We conducted new hire orientation and explained benefits to everyone that we added 18 people to payroll. We met with Sandy from Edward Jones to start the process for the SEP, and we set up, she's going to be coming here and meeting with people individually next week to get that taken care of. Sunrise is now doing our cleaning services. Mid-Columbia Producers is now a contract for our fuel for our vehicles, but we will have to go out for an RFP within the next 6 months to make sure that we actually got a low-cost provider. We got.
Where are their locations? I mean,
So they, the Chevron station right down at the corner of Rifle Range,
okay.
and then the one out in Green. But they also had the CFN as well. So if both of those were down, we would be able to go over on the Airport Boulevard.
So Pacific Pride and CF.
There's a CFN out that way too.
Is there? Yeah.
That'd be
I've
sure.
never used it, but I've seen their sign.
Yeah.
There's
So.
one in Mill Creek too, so.
Oh, yeah, down there, I didn't call that one. So that was, they were the low-cost provider before when we set them up with UCAN. So I was confident in going ahead and moving forward with that, and then we'll do the RFP in the future. Fleetio is an amazing program that will track all of our preventive maintenance, our mileage, our pre-trips and post-trips. It's amazing. We can run all kinds of reports to find out what we are doing overall as a fleet, or for a specific vehicle, or for a specific driver. Just, it's amazing.
Does it work with the dial ride vans too?
Well, so that's what we were just talking about, is because it is an app that you use on your phone, they would be able to download the app if we put their vehicles into the thing, yes.
And then they could access that.
Yes.
They wouldn't be able to change our stuff though, right? Or nobody could, or change each other's, or.
Oh,
We have
no,
a flip phone, we need to upgrade that thing.
no. Well, so you'd be able to do it with the tablet.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So, yeah, we were just, I had heard a lot of really good things and been told this is the best thing for the buck. But I'm more than impressed, really impressed.
It's nice, then you got all that data, you got an audit, it's, data's right there.
Yes, and so one of the operations assistants that we brought in, she actually backfilled all of the data for this last year back to July 1st, 2019 for the vehicles. So we have that information to draw on as well.
I think it would be handy for grants as well, right?
To be able to pull the data that we need to,
Okay.
for various
A lot
different things.
quicker.
Yeah.
So that was pretty exciting. We're still excited. So let's see, what else? Oh, we did order and receive replacement tablets for the dial ride vehicles. That was one of the things that a lot of people had mentioned, was that they were old and failing. And we're in the process of installing the Route Map software, and then we'll schedule in a time with each dial ride provider to swap the tablet out. Because what we do is when we plug the new tablet in for them, then we'll call and let Verizon know the old tablet to be shut off. And so we'll have those out within the next month.
Do we have a replacement schedule for well, for lots of, for all sorts of things. I mean, sometimes it'd be nice to have a replacement schedule for buses.
Would you heard that?
But your tablets, your computers, your software, every few years, it may still function. We don't want to wait till it doesn't function,
Correct.
but it also may not get supported after so long too, so.
Right, so that's what we're in the process, because we are still, this is the first year, we've just completed the first year. And we've just actually brought all the assets over from UCAN, so we're still, one thing that they did, the computers that we have apparently were very high quality computers. So, we have very nice computers that should last the next 3 or 4 years at least.
Yeah, but they still require replacements.
Yeah.
I'm on the city Roseburg Budget Committee, I've been on for 20 years, and one of the neat things I always like that they do is they have a replacement, they have a vehicle replacement fund. But you can see, how many police motorcycles or a specific, fire engine that's $400,000, they're not desperate. They put money aside every year until they get to, they budget it out ahead. And by the time they get to the year they need it, all the money has been set aside and they just go ahead and make the purchases. It's real easy.
Yes.
They're not
And you don't
struggling.
drive it until it's dead.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the same thing with the
Well, Shell has a
computers.
lot of catching up to do on the Valorant side, because everything it's extremely outdated, so.
So
She
it's a
at least
process.
has an order even coming in at this point,
It's a
in an
process.
upgrade.
Yeah. So let's see what else. John covered the offer that we made on the property next door. IE Engineering, they've scheduled a pre-application conference. Oh, love the way I spelled that.
Just like the way I spell it.
With
There's
City of,
Slavic coming through.
yeah.
I thought it was a Kovac.
Yeah. Oh, dear. So we're gonna go over that proposal, the proposed building plan with City of Roseburg, and so then we'll be able to complete that process as well. Work with AccuHealth to schedule the fit for duty physicals for the drivers. So each driver that we offered employment, it was contingent upon passing a pre-employment UA, a background check, and the fit for duty physical. So they all passed their UAs, and the background checks all came back as well. And then the fit for duty physicals, they're going through that process this week.
Are you concerned about are you concerned about that for some of the new hires?
Not for the new hires, no. There are a couple of folks that I'm hoping will pass the physical. We did order a replacement copy machine for the Rose Street office. The one they had was 6 years old and failing miserably. We couldn't get parts for it anymore. We received notification from Umpqua, that the Umpqua, so that's in, maybe it's on the last page. Yeah. And that the Rural Veterans Healthcare Transportation Program discretionary grant, their award recommendation was for Umpqua Public Transportation District for $50,000 for North Douglas County Veterans Medical Transportation Connector, which creates a veteran-centered bedroom community connections to the VA facility in Roseburg and Eugene. And it's a partnership with Southland Meals and North Douglas Betterment. Congratulations, Jennifer.
Thank you,
Serving the Elkton, Drain, and Youngcalla area.
and thank you for taking on the much bigger project than ever Brenda.
So let's see. That's when I numbered it, it numbered that as a separate one. All right, so we set up the ACH transfer for the HRA Visa contributions. We provided contact information. Oh, so this is tough. We had a call, a 911 operator called and said that one of our dial-a-ride vans had hit a pedestrian in the Walmart parking lot. So dispatch contacted all of the drivers that were in the Roseburg area at the time. And they all, of course, had no idea something like that had happened. The policeman, when he contacted me, he had pulled the Walmart video cameras And it was definitely a dial ride vehicle, but of course you cannot see well enough with the camera to see who the driver was. So he did ask for me to provide the contact information for UVDN and UHH, because those were the 4 drivers that were on duty that day that could have been in that area.
They couldn't get a license plate or anything?
Mm-mm.
Oh, wow.
And they don't have
Walmart needs to
numbers on
update
them?
their cameras.
Walmart has really good cameras.
That's what I thought. That's crazy.
Go to the service counter, there's about 6 cameras aimed at you.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, inside, yeah.
I know because I've had clients cash bank checks there. You can see them from 6 different angles.
Oh.
It's a little hard to be the guy to argue with.
Yeah. All right. So we did update the phone tree. Christine has been working really hard on keeping all of the phones and everything updated. For some reason, the port from the downtown office to the phones over here, it was a really difficult thing. When we ported the ones from Sutherland to here, it was like, it was done the same day, within hours. And this one took a couple of weeks for it to finally get worked out, but it is now ported. We worked with, I've been working with dispatch for the paratransit chiefs. Paratransit has different rules than Dial-A-Ride does. It's an FTA requirement for our system to have it. And it was kind of at the 11th hour that we got a download from UCAN that had all of the paratransit clients on it. And that was not down, we did not have that, and it was not downloaded on the system when the UCAN dispatcher came over to provide information and training for our dispatchers. So, I mean, she could provide information, but she wasn't here at the appropriate time to actually provide training. So I've just been providing that training for them and answering those questions as they come up, because you can't deny a ride if it's requested within 24 hours, you know, at least 24 hours in advance. You can't deny a ride, it's a requirement, you know. So it's just been a learning process. I wish that we had had better training for them, but now they can just say, Cheryl, and I come and help them. So anyway, it is what it is. I did finally request a list of outstanding invoices from UCAN to reconcile, because there were just different versions of invoices everywhere, you know, and so I could search an invoice number and have it come up 3 different times with 3 different amounts on it, because they've been revised and revised and revised. Well, that was just part of the process, making sure that it actually matched. So when there were corrections to be made, then they would revise the invoice, and then
I think you'd cancel the invoice and create a new invoice
Oh.
number,
Yeah.
just for accounting purposes, but.
yeah. So anyway, I requested that, and that's how I figured out where the $84,000 number came from. So that was a day late, the $84,000 check, but they did get their check that was listed in the agreement, yes. So, and of course, you guys know, we worked with Brunsberry on those adjustments, and the monitor, that was John's question. We did request information regarding setting a monitor up in here for these meetings or for presentations. And of course, it's an easy thing to do, but our tech guys have been working really hard to get that whole set up with the.
Yeah, no, one nice wall we can put it on.
Yeah, we got an awesome wall for it,
Yeah,
and we could see who was on, so.
yeah. So that's all I could think of in my report.
Paul.
That's all.
There's still nobody on Zoom.
They're on Zoom, but they're all unmuted, and nobody said anything, we had chatted, but we jump again.
I thought I heard somebody talk.
Oh, hold on, there's 2 comments.
Natasha Atkinson says, in the future, can providers be notified of this as well, other than just the drivers? This is the first we've heard of a potential And Kelly said, anything involving the drivers need to go through the providers. This has been explained to you prior to this board meeting. I'm not sure whom they're addressing.
That has to be.
So talking about the Walmart crash.
Yeah.
So that, I spoke directly to the Roseburg Police Department and they specifically,
They called you.
yes, they specifically asked for the provider's information. So that's what I did.
Well, that's how they get to.
Sarah's not on
Provider.
Zoom, she's just.
It was an investigation.
She's not.
That's a potential felony incident, a hit and run with injury is a felony.
Yeah,
Well, maybe the police officer didn't contact them.
that's possible,
Yeah, who knows?
but I have been out for a week, so I did not have the opportunity to follow up on that. So today.
I've got one comment in your report, that if that insurance settlement for UVBN came to us, I think we have to do a real quick supplemental budget to spend it, just to keep our paperwork straight. 23,000 in, 23,000 out for van purchase.
May not have to do a supplemental budget. It just depends if it's more than 10% over.
It may not
What
require.
we put in our total.
We have to at least get our paperwork in order, whichever way it goes.
Yes. The 23,000 came in last year in the July, August timeframe.
Fiscal year,
Going back really quick to the UHHU VDN hit and run incident. I mean, would that be possible in the future to call the provider and let them know? If this is the first, I mean, I feel bad that this is the first they're hearing about it. Maybe this is a big deal. So maybe back to communication a little bit, to be able to, at least speak with Natasha, the executive director of UHH, to say, hey, not sure if you're aware. I mean, we really can't put it on a police officer. We're the district. This is our responsibility. Whether the police officer calls them or not, that's on their side of the investigation. But if we could.
So the information that I was provided was an email stating we received a call from 911 dispatch. We checked with all of the drivers that were in the area and none of them were at Walmart. So we thought we had eliminated the possibility of that happening.
Are there any surplus
Isn't it on camera?
dial-a-ride vehicles or something that maybe still have some of the, the blue top or?
I've never seen one. But
So-
wasn't it on camera that it was in fact a hit and run?
Right, so that's when the police officer contacted me, and I just have to apologize. That call came, my mother passed away, so
I'm sorry.
I did not follow up on that, so.
Maybe that's something, I mean, I'm really sorry, that's terrible news, and I feel really bad. Maybe that's something that Christine can follow up on it. We have like a backup plan.
Did you have something you wanted to input with?
Oh, no, I think I totally agree with what's going on in here.
I got another question,
We
Cheryl.
need communication.
We're gonna get a tape
Matt's
down here at
talking.
some point, I was
Matt's-
wondering as I drove in today.
Yep. It's
Mark.
on screen.
Okay.
Matt was talking.
So, yeah, I agree that we need communication. I think up front. I mean, that's also a liability for the dial-a-ride providers. I mean, that hits me in my insurance. So I need to know those kinds of things. And that's part of doing my job for mitigation, prevention. So yeah, I would have appreciated a contact when it happened. So do we have a date and time?
I would have to look that up. I got an email from dispatch. I didn't have direct contact about that.
So how do the providers, how do the police know to contact the specific drivers if they didn't contact the provider?
The dispatch contacted the drivers.
Okay.
911 called the dispatch. The
Oh.
dispatch contacted all of the drivers. The drivers all said none of them had been to Walmart that day. We thought it was a done deal. False information, bad report. That's where it was left. Until I received the call from the police officer, which it's bad timing. I'm sorry, I took some personal time off.
Well, we understand that, my goodness, of course.
Okay. Anybody else?
Can we get the information to the providers, the date and time and any kind of other information so they can start whatever investigation we need?
Do we have an incident protocol? Just so if you're out of the office, say you're on a retreat somewhere for work and Christine's in here or future, we have other employees, something to keep the ball rolling on these type of incidents?
We do.
We do.
Can we review it maybe?
Yes.
Incident reports, any incident reports, perhaps the board
Well, not
should
just
get.
Well, if there is
report,
one, I
but-
think what he's at, go ahead.
I just meant a protocol, so that way, like I said, an incident happens on Wednesday, Cheryl leaves Thursday. There's something that an underling, forgive me for the word, can pick up on there and not have to call you and interrupt you in whatever meeting you might be in. But it's typed out where they can be like, okay, step A, step B, step C. That's what I was just asking.
And we thought we had completed that.
Okay. Not on agenda. So I wanted to make sure that we got special districts training down here. Another weekend retreat of some sort, to go through those things that we all wish we would have had 2 years ago when we were just too busy trying to catch our own tail.
Didn't have any money to join special.
So I want to make sure that happens before Thanksgiving.
What I'll do is, I'll get availability for trainers and then provide that to you in an email. And then you guys can let me know which.
September and October, I think would be good months to look at.
She did this before. There was just never a time we could all meet and get together.
And with the monitor, we can do it distance learning.
Mhm.
They don't have to come down. Now that we have a monitor.
You got something, Matt, again?
Yeah, just off topic, but, so in regards to the van, I'm kind of doing a follow-up on what Mark was mentioning about the 23,000 for the van. So one, the van that we went in search of, found it to be a bust. So either it must have been sold or somebody decided to squirrel it away somewhere. The 23,000, I actually had a conversation with Jennifer Wortman just to kind of get it clear in my head, where the vehicle is supposed to come from. And
Matt, you're really muffled. Can you come closer? Sure. For me anyways.
Yeah,
so
he's far away.
my understanding is that of the 6 vehicles that were being requested, one of those vehicles is supposed to be that one. So technically, the one that we would be looking for would be basically another replacement or a substitute vehicle. So the feeling I kind of got in the conversation is that that would be something that the district would probably want to do, because if that's going to be a substitute or a temporary vehicle, that would be something that you feel okay with using, not just for UBDN, but for anybody, any of the providers, if they needed to use it in a pinch. So, and she told me that the van that we have supposed to be coming is the one that's currently in the hopper, that eventually, after going through modifications, will be available sometime around Christmas, along with the other 5. Now, that's what I got from Jennifer Boardman and what she's got on her information. So I don't know if there's anything different to add to that, but that's what I know about.
So you have to survive until Christmas?
Well, I mean, we're using the little white van, the little Chevy Venture
That we weren't purchasing.
until Christmas, yeah. But I know the Chevy Venture's been asked for by other providers at times too. So I think it kind of runs into a problem sometimes, because we just don't have enough backup.
Mhm.
So I don't know if we need to,
So wait until Christmas really isn't a good option. We should be looking at something.
yeah, if you want to be proactive, I'd probably say, if you had some backup rigs, maybe something that doesn't have quite nearly the high miles, like UHI's 250,000. Because I think that was our alternative that we had to look at the time. So it might be better to find somebody that had lower miles that could still put around maybe there's some other E350s out around, or maybe some of the ones that Umpqua Transit had been using. Maybe some of those might be doable. They're same dimensions. It'd be probably just a paint job and a wrap. You could convert kind of that off-white to white with blue.
We'll take a look into what we do.
Thanks, Mike. Sure.
To delegations of authority, in the past, it's been asked for Mike, stuff on all the time, he did a great job. But Kat and Jennifer, you guys have asked for delegations of such.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask, go around the table and just ask people what sort of, what they'd like to be delegated for. Conversations with dealing with tribal issues. You and Sarah would probably great individuals for that. Working with ODOT, obviously, Mike, you'd be excellent for that in the city of Roseburg. Type issues that you're willing.
Probably more the city of Roseburg than ODOT.
Church and
Okay.
state.
Yeah, it just begins to confuse the issues. So I try to stay out of transit at work.
Okay.
Anything South County, and that could be,
All right.
Yeah, I'm good. City Roseburg, Selwyn, Winston.
I'm not writing this down, none of it's official, it's everybody's gonna be responsible for their own volunteering.
I want to look into us making money with recreation and east-west and
Reference.
the medical runs.
So,
I'd like to look at money coming in.
so everybody's always willing to, able to be doing that, but as secretary / treasurer, that doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
You know,
But those other-
it's secretary is probably a position that we no longer need in the bylaws. We had it in there because we didn't have any staff. And technically, your recording secretary is
Right.
probably the state.
So I don't have to be the
It's an honorary
secretary.
position.
Yes, it's
We
honorary.
just wanted to have something, until we were able to establish
Um,
staff.
Sometimes you have to sign a contract and they want somebody identified
Yep.
as secretary.
Yep.
It's the only real purpose it serves.
Which we've had happen with the bank.
Mhm.
So you'll still be a signature probably
Yeah.
on there.
Emergency.
From Mike to me.
Yeah, that was, if we were on agenda build, I would say that one of the things we're gonna need is a resolution next meeting for authorizing bank signatories. So to remove myself and add John and Rodney.
And remove myself.
Yes.
But we're not gonna remove me.
Yeah.
No, I don't wanna be on
They want to leave me on there.
So just a change to the new office of the officers. Which means everybody that's on it, you'll have to go in and sign again.
So do we have a resolution creator or am I learning a new tool?
Right there.
Excellent, excellent. So you're South County as well?
I don't work for the tribe,
Okay,
so I work for the city of Mill Creek.
but you did work with the tribe before?
Yeah.
You and
Sarah.
Sarah will?
Yeah.
So Sarah's not here to speak for herself, but regardless of her position on it, would you mind taking up that role of being the liaison, if you will, for the tribe and work with Sarah on South County issues as well?
Yeah, I can work with, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. You want a liaison with your attorney?
I do anyway from time to time.
Excellent. And
Just I mean, I guess, when I need to, but, a lot of things I think Cheryl will be handling as far as communications. I mean, she needs to step in and help. I mean,
right, everything's
Including
on her
Roseburg and
shoulders.
Winston and all that, only if you ask. That's all I wanted to point out
Yeah.
too. Only if you ask. Okay? We're not jumping in and.
Researching and communication with the citizens is
Yeah.
important.
I think Kat will bring in some important perspectives and stuff on the medical transport. I think that's a really big piece. And I know that's something you want to do too, so.
Excellent.
I guess I can do veterans a little bit, unless you want to do veterans all the way.
I don't mind if you want to. Every step of the way I've gone, I've gotten non-involvement from certain groups. Maybe a different face will produce something else.
So I guess the one thing I mean, it's great for us to be involved, and I think the more the more, I think that's something we need to do, but we also, I think, need to make sure that Cheryl's aware of the activities that we're we're going forth with, so.
But
Of
not
course,
use,
so-
but not take up a bunch of her time.
So delegation, what I meant by that wasn't trying to take things off of Cheryl's shoulders, because she needs as much on her shoulders as possible. But more of, so that Mike doesn't have to go find something out. He can ask somebody, or somebody can get the information and bring it to the table.
Who's the best person that they need?
Right. And of course, everybody needs to talk with Cheryl. She's our general manager. She needs to know what's going on, how it's happening. But if her hands are tied, she can ask that individual that's in that area for that support. So that's all I meant by
We're
that.
just to
It's
assist
a
as
board of
requested.
is what it
Right.
is.
We can take direction.
So,
Your Highness.
An engaged board is a good board.
so we've also talked about doing meetings at Reedsport. I think now that we have the online thing, that's probably not as pressing, but I do think we should probably have a presence over there once or twice a year.
Yes.
Would be a good idea, and I think we could budget in the cost for meeting here and taking a bus over there sometime, if anybody's
Yes.
gonna be willing to stay up till midnight and then get back.
Open containers aren't allowed, right?
Okay. So that's all I had for stuff that's not on the agenda that I wanted to talk about. Did anybody else have anything not on the agenda? Okay, again, we don't have anybody on Zoom? Public
We
comment?
have two people and we have the public comment.
Maybe they have something else to say.
We're getting
I meant nothing.
no more chat items now, right?
Okay. Did you have something that you wanted to speak to the board about?
Yeah, who is he?
This is Roy Spurgeon.
He's on our budget committee and sticks.
Oh, yes, yes, I knew he was familiar, but I couldn't remember. It's campaign time.
Agenda bill. So what do we have for the next agenda? We got resolution for the bank signatures.
We have the logo.
Logo and the
and-
Umpqua
and-
Connections.
and- Yeah, the name for Delaware. First, well, let me ask you real quick on that. Are you guys okay with blue and green as
Yeah.
colors?
I'm fine with that.
I like rainbow.
However it turns
I'm
out.
gonna stick with that because those other people did it and it's possible.
Well, you say that in jest, but I'm gonna, I know you were, but I'm gonna tell you a time when I was on the Umpqua Council of Governments, whatever, that New York cog that ran the Umpqua Transit years ago. I missed a meeting, and it was Joyce Morgan and I don't remember who else was there. There was two of them, might have been Maryland or something, but anyway, I missed the meeting, and they changed the colors to the pink and orange.
That used to be on
Do
the
you remember
bus.
that?
Was that the pilot?
It was
pumpkin
just
ride?
ugly. And
Oh
I just
my
thought, man,
gosh.
I'm never gonna miss a meeting again.
They thought you were listening.
Pink and
It
orange.
was pink and orange. Yeah. It was a bright pink and a bright orange.
I can't imagine where the pink was. I remember the orange.
So do we need to request that everything is green?
No, I just wanted to make sure. that
Hello?
If you guys have
Someone's
something, just like,
talking.
yeah, just.
That's fine. We're not there yet. We're still on agenda build. We'll get to them in a minute.
Okay.
So we have the logo, Umpqua Connection for Dollar Ride, potential, the resolution for bank signatures. That'll be on August 10th.
The monitor.
The monitor, we don't have to talk about that in the meeting though. Nothing else on the agenda. We're gonna have a short.
That's
Is
Oh,
it-
no,
is it
we're doing the protocols.
So this is that double discussion.
That's a special section of the
It's
meeting.
just a special section, yeah.
Is the special meeting after the meeting?
No, it's just part of the meeting.
During it.
He just declares being part of the special meeting or a.
A special
Agenda,
part.
old business.
Yeah.
Special, whatever business.
Is there any way we can update on the hit and run issue?
At that
Seems like a
time.
big deal.
Yeah, I
Put it
think
on
if
the
we just
agenda.
email the board members, just let us know what, you know.
Yeah, just any kind of update on that and what we need to maybe start preparing ourselves for. Or does our lawyer need to be informed of this?
Well,
Yeah.
they're,
The
the
dollar ride.
providers are insured, so they have insurance.
Maybe we'll find their insurance carrier.
I will reach back out to the officer. I haven't had any correspondence with him since the original email. So
Back up to public comment. We've got a waving behind us that somebody had a comment.
Did we have something, Christine?
Yeah, Jennifer Boardman.
Oh, Jennifer Boardman,
That's important.
we ought to just put her on the agenda,
Yes.
just an ODOT update or something like that.
She comes through a speaker or do we have to call her in?
I keep asking her to unmute herself.
I'm on the phone.
There you go.
Oh,
There you are.
it's coming through the speaker?
That's the
No, I
volume,
think
that's
she
the volume.
called into the
I was
Zoom.
trying to do
I
that.
think she's on.
She's a,
She's on.
Well, we're on do not disturb. How do I turn that off?
There's a button that says DMD.
Is Jennifer
How's that?
just
Can you hear
calling into the Zoom on her phone? Is that what she said?
she was on the speaker.
No, I already on.
She's on the speaker.
Oh, she's over here. up
You're
the
on the
speakers.
speaker.
Yeah, I just wanted to see about the possibility of getting on and doing a little bit of training on the funding that's coming up. I did that this morning for Coos County Board, and it would be nice to kind of give you an overview of the funding that's going to become available and what your guys' roles and responsibilities are as far as the board, and how you can support Cheryl for that funding.
Funding and
It's talking about the new funding that's coming to
We
the
haven't
district
taken a lot of
and,
their-
what it's about, what we need to do and how we can support Cheryl basically.
Is it okay to wait a month, Jennifer?
Well, the one thing with waiting is that we do have the discretionary cycle that's coming up. And as part of that, you do have to get a letter of recommendation from the Southwest Area Commission on Transportation. So their next meeting is September and the applications are due in November. So the timing is a little bit short. So, I mean, if it's possible to do it the first part of August.
Yes.
Okay.
Lonnie and I are both members of the Southwest ACTA as well.
The rest of the board would love to be able to know how to fund the
Yeah.
work. Yeah, I would love to be educated.
So part of the bill, can we add that to our August meeting?
I've got it written down. ODOT funding, Jennifer Boardman.
Thank you.
So Jennifer, is it okay to put you as a regular item on the agenda for ODOT updates? You don't have to have anything.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
Okay. No other public comment? No other comments from the board? Meeting adjourned. It is, what is that,
It's
6:51?
6:52.
Good job on your first meeting.
Good job.
Good job, John.
That's why I nominated him, because he's a parliamentarian. And I have to
I'm not.
learn